Okay, here we go. So tonight we are learning another installment of the Meor Einayim and Parshat Naso, and we're going to see that this is also a prep for Shavuot, Zat Hashem, that we have coming up Tuesday night. So we're going to the Torah, and so before we get to how this connects to the Parsha, it's a very, very far-fetched connection to the Torah, to the Parsha. It's a very Hasidish interpretation, but the truth is that it's actually extremely relevant to the subject of getting the Torah, because one of the things that it says about getting the Torah is that when Hashem tells Moshe Rabbeinu to go up to Har Sinai, so he says Alei al Rosh Har v'heyeh sham. So he says go up to the mountain and be there. Okay, so what does it mean? What does it mean to be there? The simple understanding of the word v'heyeh sham means that you need to be very present. Okay, we're talking about mindfulness. We're talking about high consciousness. We're talking about being very aware of what's going on. Okay? And so this is a prerequisite to receiving the Torah is v'heyeh sham, that you have to be really, really there. It's not enough to be standing there, that you need to be there mentally. And so this is what we call it in like modern times. We call this mindfulness. Okay? This is to be aware, and that person you could have two levels. You could have two people that are doing anything, that just life is bigger and better when you're mindful of it. That just eating ragalach, eating popcorn it's more tasty if you do it with mindfulness. Okay, going to sleep is more enjoyable if you do it with mindfulness. And certainly, the important things in life, like hanging out with your friends, is much more meaningful if you're doing it in a mindful way. Doing mitzvahs, doing Judaism is more meaningful if you do it in a mindful way. So everything in life is bigger and better when you're doing it with mindfulness, and that's what it means v'heyeh sham. So certainly when we're talking about getting the Torah, so being mindfulness is very critical. There's an amazing story that it's not really a story. It's really it's a Torah. It's a Torah the Torah starts from a famous personality called the Ger Tzedek Vilna, Rabbi Ben Avraham, who's also a famous Shavuos character because he was killed on Shavuos. Right? That we're talking about. He was a contemporary of the Vilna Gaon, and he was a student of the Vilna Gaon, and he lived in Vilna, obviously. And so his story was that he was a Polish nobleman, and one day he passed by some Jewish family and then in the Jewish shtetl, and he was just amazed by the melodies of the Shabbos Nigunim, and he was just like staring in the window, and the family was freaked out, and they said, "Is everything okay?" And they said, I'm just amazed. And he said, "You want to come in?" And he said, "Yeah." And he came in, and he was just like mesmerized by the whole Jewish thing. And like he said, "Can I come back next week?" And he started coming regularly, and little by little, so he became obsessed with Judaism, and he wanted to convert. And so he went to the Vilna Gaon, and the Vilna Gaon told him that over here, if you convert, so you're putting your life in danger. So you have to go. I believe he said to go to Amsterdam to go to convert, and so the thing was that it was actually because he was a nobleman. So he ran away. So he told his parents that he's that he wants to go for a tiyul. He wants to just like see the world and go for traveling, and so secretly he went to, and he became Jewish. And so he never wrote back. It was the same story, by the way, by the personality I told you about last week, that Matis Gelman. So when he became religious, so he actually didn't tell his father that he wants to go to yeshiva. He actually told his father, there's an art gallery going on somewhere, and it would be really amazing if I could go there. And since I got graduated with honors, so I think I deserve a present. So could I please go to this art gallery? And then I really sneaked out to become a Ger Chassid. So that was the story of Rabbi Ben Avraham. And so the thing is that his parents were stubborn, and his parents went out to search for him, and so they said they put a big ransom, a big reward. Anybody who finds him will give you lots and lots of money, and so somebody caught him, and they arrested him, and they brought him back to his parents, and they told him, and they said, "Listen, you have disgraced our family, and you deserve to be killed, but because we have compassion on you, so we'll give you a last chance that you don't deserve, and that is that if you return to Christianity, so then we'll let you live. And so he said, of course not. I'm very happy with my Judaism, and I'm never going back. And there's a famous story that the Vilna Gaon offered to him that if you want, I know Kabbalistically that I could make a golem. I could make a image that would seem like a human being, and it'll feel like a human being, it'll look like a human being, it'll smell like a human being, and they will think it's you. And you can escape, and I'll just put a golem that looks exactly like you back in jail, and you'll be able to escape, and you'll live happily ever after. And famously, the Ger Tzedek Mivona said, "No way, Rabbi, how can you strip me of this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to give up my life to Hashem?" And so he willingly, he by choice, he decided that he wanted to be killed, Al Kiddush Hashem, in order not to give up his Judaism. And the yahrzeit of the Ger Tzedek Mivona was no other than Shavuos. So this is the Shavuos. One of the things that when they were celebrating is the yahrzeit of Rabbi Avraham, the Ger Tzedek Mivona. So it's a holiday, another element, another layer of the fact that Shavuos is the holiday of converts. So there's a Torah that Rabbi Avraham Ben Avram said about converts, and it has to do with Maimon HaSinai. So it's so appropriate that his day, his Hilula, his yahrzeit is Shavuos, the day of Matan Torah, and that is that he says that where do converts come from? Where's the idea of the person, the non-Jew, in the middle of who knows where? I have students coming from the Philippines, coming from China, coming from everywhere. They're like, what the heck? Like, where I asked them something like, how do you hear about us? They said, like, I read about you on the internet. Like, and where does it come from? These people want to come to the Jewish nation. So Rabbi Avraham Ben Avram has a Torah that he shared about where converts come from. So he said that it says in the Midrash that before Hashem gave the Jewish people the Torah, so he says they went to all the other nations and he asked them, "Do you want the Torah?" And so the Gemara says, the Midrash says that he went to different nations and he said, "Do you want the Torah?" And they answered, "What does it say in the Torah?" And so first he went to the children of Esav, and it says in the Torah you can't murder, can't kill. He said, "No, sorry, we're sort of into our murdering, so no, thank you." And then he went to the Arabs, and he said, "What does it say in the Torah?" And he said, "It says don't commit adultery." He said, "No, sorry, we like our adultery." And I'm not sure if I mentioned this, that for all the Palestinians listening to our show, so that it says that the highest, the number one reason in Arab countries, the number one reason for divorce is infidelity. That is like it's mamish that they're mamish it's the lo tinaf is something that they could not take. So. And then Hashem came to the Jewish nation and he said, Naso Nishma. By the way, I want to say, there's a misunderstanding that a lot of people have about this Midrash, that when Hashem gave the opportunity to the other nations to receive the Torah, there was never a possibility that it was going to be them and not us. Okay? Hashem promised to Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov that we are going to be his nation. When the Midrash says that Hashem offered the Torah to the other nations, it meant that to receive the Torah in addition to us, that together with us, that they should also be able to jump on the bandwagon. But there was never a possibility that he wasn't offering them the possibility that it should be theirs, that they should be the Jews and not us. But anyway, they didn't want, and then Hashem came to us, and we said Naso V'nishma, of course. And so the Ger Tzedek Mivona says that when Hashem asked all the other nations, "Do you want the Torah?" So it says that they said no, right? So he says, what does that mean that they said no? It means that every single one said no. There wasn't one Chinaman that said yes. Hey, what more? It's so unlikely that every single one that maybe I'm just like, maybe this is a projection. I know Jews never agree. So I think it's unlikely that every single non-Jew really didn't want. So he said that no, of course there were individuals that wanted. And when it says that they said no, it means that the majority said no. The majority said no. So there were still individuals that wanted. So because Hashem wanted to pay them back for their goodwill to receive the Torah, so what did he do? So he planted those souls later in history in the body of a non-Jew in order that they should be able to reach their dream to be able to actually be part of the Jewish nation. Okay, so that's the Torah of the Jewish. That's the Torah of the Getzalik Mivana of where the converts come from. So now the Rabbi Yitzchak Zilberstein, Shlita, in Bnei Brak, he's a Rabbi in Bnei Brak. So he was the son-in-law of Rav Yashiv. He has an addition. He has a addendum to this Torah from the Getzalik Milvana, and he said that where do OTD people come from? That why do we have this reality of people going off the derech? So he says that it could be that just like the neshamas of Gerim is that Hashem that they really, when the majority said yes, but like at this critical moment in history, so they were like they wanted to come, but they weren't able to come. So maybe that there were some Jews that they were at Har Sinai, and we were saying Naso v'Nishma, but the truth is that when they were saying Naso v'Nishma, they were actually on their phones. And like they were saying Naso v'Nishma that sure Dad, I'll do it in a couple of minutes, and that Naso, we're Neshma, sure, and they weren't there. They weren't there. They weren't Mekayim this V'hayeh Sham, and because of the critical moment of Naso v'Nishma, so they weren't actually V'hayeh Sham. So in the source of their soul, there was this disconnect, and later in history they were going to come back, and like because they weren't connected from the offset, so it was almost like they were destined to just drop off. So this is the critical thing. This is the this thing of being connected. This thing is having a high consciousness, of being very aware, of being very mindful of our connection to God. So this is a critical thing with life, and it's specifically a critical thing when it comes to our Judaism, when it comes to our accepting of the Torah. And that's why it's a very important introduction, a preparation to receiving the Torah is this idea of mindfulness. And so this is really the topic. This is really the topic of the Einayim, of the Holy Chernobyler, that we said we're getting like the final stretch. This is the last couple of weeks that we're learning the Sefer Einayim. So when it talks about this week's Parshat, so his topic is what he calls in Chassidut. This is called Machshavot Zarot. Machshavot Zarot literally means foreign thoughts. Okay, what it means foreign thoughts? Foreign thoughts means that you're trying to do something holy and your mind drifts elsewhere. Okay, that's what foreign thoughts means. That's what Machshavot Zarot means. So how to deal with Machshavot Zarot? In Breslov they just call this bilbulim. Bilbulim. There's just things that mix you up. Confusing things that confuse you. So this is the topic of this bilbulim, of this so how do you deal with? So how do we overcome this? So he says. So he starts by saying, he starts with the midrash. There's a famous midrash. It says the Torah commands us that the Torah commands us to connect with God, to cling with God. And the Gemara asks, the Midrash asks, that is it possible to cling with Hashem? That Hashem, it says Hashem is like a fire. So if you cling to fires, then you're going to burn. So how is it possible to cling to God? So the Gemara answers that hitavek b'midotav. When it says to cling to God, it doesn't mean to cling to God. You can't cling to God because God's fire. It means hitavek b'midotav. You should cling to His midot. So what does it mean? What does it mean midot? So the simple understanding of clinging to the midot is that mahu rachum afata rachum, mahu chanun afata chanun. The 13 attributes of mercy. that Hashem has 13 attributes of mercy, and to cling to the midot of rachamim, to cling to His character traits, and the more that you're similar to Hashem, the more that you go in Hashem's path of being compassionate, of being merciful, of being kind. So that's our way of clinging to Hashem. Okay, so we ask that, like, at the end of the day, like, that's nice. It's nice, but it's not. It doesn't really explain the pasuk. The pasuk says to cling to God. So what does it mean? What does it mean to actually cling to God? So he explains that really the way to cling to God, the way to cling to God is actually something more simple. That when it says the midot of Hashem, so it's not just talking about walking on Hashem's path of being merciful. Rather, there's another thing of midot, and that is that there's midot shehat Torah nidrashet bahen. That when it talks about, it uses the word midot, it actually uses the word 13 midot. That there's 13 ways through which the Torah is explained, through which we expound upon the Torah. This is called the 13 midot of Rabbi Shmuel. That it's in the Siddur. It's in the Siddur every morning. So he says that it's really a reference to the 13 midot through which the Torah can be expounded, which is actually corresponding to the 13 midot of Rachamim. And through connecting to the Torah, which is expounded with 13 midot, that is the truest way to cling to Hashem. Okay, so really when it says to cling to Hashem, the truest way to cling to Hashem is actually through learning Torah, because when we're clinging to Torah, so you're clinging to Hashem, because Hashem puts Himself in the Torah. Okay, this is a famous idea. It's made famous by the Tanya in Perek Hey. So shout out for any Chabad people here. So the Tanya writes that when Hashem was teaching us the Torah, so He was actually giving us a piece of Himself, because it says in the Zohar, it says in the Rambam that Hashem and His wisdom are really one. That Hashem and His wisdom are one. So therefore, when you're connecting with Hashem's wisdom, you're connecting to Hashem's essence. So when you're connecting to Hashem's wisdom, when you're expounding on the Torah, when you're thinking about the Torah, when your thoughts are on Torah thoughts, so then the thoughts of Torah are actually the thoughts of the wisdom of God, and the wisdom of God is actually one with God's essence. So actually, when I'm thinking about the thoughts of Torah and thinking about the wisdom of God, so then I'm actually in the wisdom of God is actually God's essence, and it's actually inside my brain. And that's the one way that you can actually bring God's essence into your brain. Okay, it's through thinking words of Torah. So this is the greatest way of achieving dveikut. Now, it's from the continuation from this Torah in the Einayim. So it's clear that it's not just talking about Torah; it's also talking about tefillah. It's also talking about prayer. The prayer is also a term of a way of dveikut. It's a way of clinging to God, and this he doesn't feel the need to explain. Perhaps because it's so obvious that when a person is davening properly, so that is a reality of dveikut. Okay? That is the reality of clinging to God, because it's actually feeling God's presence if you're doing it right. So when it says the dav kabah, when it says the person is commanded to cling to God, in Chassidus this is considered the apex of what a person can achieve in this world. That the highest form of existence is to live with clinging to God, and the way to cling to God is by learning Torah and by praying. Okay, these are two ways of really connecting to God. So that being said, so he say, right, so it's a piece of cake. So therefore, so we cracked the code. How do you succeed in life? So you just have to do dveikut. You just learn Torah and daven, and you got it. So what's the problem? So the problem is the machshavot zarot. These foreign thoughts. That they're the thing. They are the enemy. They are the enemy, and trying to get us out. So this is the greatest. This is our greatest pitfall. That when we try to come close to Hashem, so we experience these machshavot zarot, these bilpulim. So that if you really want to succeed in life, so the most important thing to understand is how to overcome these machshavot zarot. Okay. So it's important to understand that there's different kinds of machshavot zarot. There's different kinds. There's different reasons why a person is going to space out. Okay. sometimes the reason why a person's spacing out is because they aren't really trying. Because they aren't really trying. That's like we're not really talking about that kind of machshavat zerot. That a person once came to Rabbi Nachman, and he said, Rabbi, and he said, every time I daven, so I start spacing out. So I don't know what to do. So Rabbi Nachman was like laughing. He started smirking. I said, Rabbi, I'm serious. Why are you laughing at me? So Rabbi Nachman asked him, tell me something. When's the last time that you were talking to somebody, and then in the middle of a sentence you said, oh my gosh, what was I saying? I was thinking about something else entirely. Was I saying anything? And it doesn't happen when you're talking to somebody. So you don't space out, right? So he said it's very simple. If you would really believe that someone is listening, you wouldn't space out. So that's number one. That there's and it's very true. It's very true. There's just the consciousness that someone is listening to your prayers, the consciousness that it matters, the consciousness that you're actually talking to somebody when you're davening. So that's it's a very helpful thing. It's a very helpful tool to not be spacing out. Okay, that's number one. But that's a very basic level of machshavat zerot. Like the machshavat zerot of simply because why should you think about God? You don't really believe that you're doing anything. You're just reading the words. So if you're not aware of the fact that something's going on, so of course you're going to have machshavat zerot. Okay, that's a very base level way to attack the problem. Now there's another. Now once we reach a person that's actually is very aware of the fact that when I'm learning, when I'm davening, so I'm doing something. So this is not like it's not like I'm just like pretending to learn because my rabbi is watching me. Like imagine you're supposed to be learning. You're supposed to be learning because you're in yeshiva, and so okay, and you're with your chavrusa, and okay, let's pretend we're learning, and okay, oh my gosh, did you see that movie last night? And of course, if you're not aware of the fact that you're doing something holy when you're learning, so if the machshavat zerot is not, it has no meaning. It just means that you haven't started yet. So we're talking about a person that's aware of the holiness of learning, a person who's aware of the holiness of prayer, and the fact that this is an opportunity to cling to God, and yet he keeps on getting distracted. Okay. Shout out to all the ADHD people out there. Okay, and I will be a leader, B'ezrat Hashem. Okay. Yeah, I know that I was I'm self-diagnosed ADHD because all my kids have it, and my wife is the opposite. My wife is super focused, so I'm very and it's so now everything makes sense now. How is it like when it's and I've grown to like it. When you have this thing, sometimes it's annoying because I get very distracted from whenever the noise is going on somewhere, but sometimes it's a superpower, when something is it's about to fall on the other side you're the first one to know this. So anyway, so what do we do? So what do us ADHD people do? How should we succeed in life to deal with all of these machshavot zerot? So, by the way, there's a theory that ADHD is actually an evolution of that mankind is becoming elevated through our ADHDness. It's actually this. It's not a problem. It's actually a higher state of being. We're super conscious. Just saying. So what do we do? So once that we're really trying and we're really aware of how holy this experience is, and yet the problems still come. So there's two ways. There's two ways to deal with it. Okay. First of all, I want to share with you a story. A story with the Baal Shem Tov. That a person came to the Baal Shem Tov and he told them that the Rebbe that every time I try to daven, so I get distracted. So we told him that I have just the solution for you. That I have a chassid that lives in a certain village, 2 villages over, and he can help you. So the guy takes a carriage and he goes over, gets a horse and goes over to this village, looks for this guy, finds the address, knocks on the door, and there's no answer. So he knocks harder, and there's no answer, and he hears there's somebody inside, and it's really weird. Why isn't this person answering? And so he's pounding on the door, and let me in. Baal Shem to send me. Nothing doing. So after an hour of pounding, so he eventually gives up, and they said listen, I'm not gonna go home because the Rebbe said that this is what I need. So maybe tomorrow I'll have better luck. So he camps out by this guy's door, and next morning, 8:30 in the morning, so the guy opens the door, and he says, "Hello, can I help you?" So he said, "Yes, you can help me, but what the heck? Why in the world did you open the door? I was pounding on the door yesterday." And so he said, I don't know what you want. I don't know who you are, but I just know one thing, that this is my house. And if I don't want you to come in, you're not going to come in. And that's that. So the guy said, now I get it. So he says that your rabbi knows you very well. So this is the first thing. The first thing about Machshavot Tzarot is, the first thing about these foreign tarets is to understand that I'm the boss. That to understand the fact that I actually am in control, that I am. It's possible for me to control my thoughts. Okay, meaning that the person doesn't have to feel that they're at the mercy of their thoughts. The thoughts can take control of them. That no, I can control my thoughts. Okay, and this is a very basic idea. That when we're talking about meditation, so the very basic definition of meditation is to control your thoughts. Okay, so the knowledge that it's possible for a human being to control their thoughts is a very empowering knowledge. It's a very empowering piece of information to know that I'm actually the boss. I actually can control what I think about, and really that in a certain sense that the entire psychology is really based on this. Because what are we doing in psychology? We're trying to rewire our brains in order to have new thought patterns. So the knowledge that we are able to control our thoughts is a very necessary part of succeeding in the human experience. And that's the basic idea of meditation. So if a person's going to say, I don't believe in meditation, so that they obviously don't understand what meditation is. Meditation is a critical part of succeeding in life, and it's a critical part in succeeding as a Jew. Okay, so meditation is a very necessary skill to be able to develop. And there's you can look up. There's amazing benefits of meditating. That there's that it helps your anxiety, it helps depression, it helps your self-control, and it helps you it helps your IQ. It helps lots of good studies that's about how important meditation is. And people don't understand that meditation simply means to control your thoughts. So the truth is that in Judaism, so the Torah puts prayer as a fundamental thing in Judaism, because prayer is actually a meditation. Because when you're praying, it's necessary to meditate. It's impossible to pray if you're not meditating. Or I should say, if you're not meditating when you're praying, then you're not actually praying. If you're just saying words and you're not controlling your brains, if you're not controlling your thoughts, so then you're not really praying. Okay, then you're just saying words. Then that's not. You did not fulfill the mitzvah of davening. You did not fulfill the purpose of davening. And prayer requires meditating, meaning it requires the fact that you're controlling your thoughts. So now an important part of the meditation process in prayer and in any meditation is to understand that who I am. And that's why it's so empowering, because when I'm meditating, then I am the host of my thoughts. Okay? So in Buddhism they call it the center. Okay? Okay, in Judaism we just call it you. Okay, you can call it the ruach, you can call it your whatever you want to call it. But to understand that I am not my thoughts. Right? The knowledge that I am not my thoughts is a very critical thing, and a person will sometimes, for the first time in their life, be in touch with themselves. Okay, so it's very necessary in order to daven. So before I meet God, I need to be in touch with myself. So that's really what's happening when I'm meditating, is that I'm being aware of the fact that I am me, that I have a neshama, I have an identity, and I am the person who's thinking, I am the person who's feeling, I am the person that's connecting, I'm the person that's doing in my life. Okay? So to spend some time with yourself. Okay? So this is the very basic thing about davening. This is the very basic thing about what you call it, about when I'm learning Torah in a meditative state. So the purpose is that I am in touch with my soul, I'm aware of my soul, and I'm connecting my soul with this wisdom through learning Torah. Okay, so meaning that there's a meditative part of every mitzvah, and the greatest mitzvah is the mitzvah of learning Torah. So to learn Torah, the process of learning Torah isn't just using my brain; it's being in touch with my soul and being aware of the fact that through my thought process, my soul is connecting to the divine. Okay, and that's the meditative part of learning Torah. So what I'm trying to so this is my point of all this introduction is that meditation is a basic idea in Judaism, and nobody should think for a second that meditation is a Buddhist thing, that meditation is a Goyish thing, that Rabbi Ari Kaplan has a whole book about Jewish meditation that he made it very famous. He takes it like off the deep end. He has many different kinds of meditation. He has meditations about just like focusing on Yud Kei Vav Kei for a long time, and like having and that like I don't think that's necessary. I don't think that's necessary. I think it's to stick with prayer meditation. I think is awesome. I think Rabbi Nachman, we talked about his Hisbodedus. So his Hisbodedus is a prayer meditation. It's a meditation of that I'm speaking to God with an awareness of the fact that there's a me, there's a you, and we're communicating. That's the greatest meditation. I don't think it's necessary for a person to. I think most people that meditate with like Kabbalistic thoughts. So I think that for that 99.9% of them are fooling themselves. That like what the heck? Like what in the world does that mean? That you're thinking about Yud Kei Vav Kei? Like you think that like there's actually this like huge Yud and this huge Hey and this huge Vav. Like what are you thinking? Like it's like I'm just becoming one with the Yud and like it's just weird to me. It's certainly not Jewish. It's certainly like just like I don't know. It's like I respect the fact that people want to feel very holy, but that's not the way, you know. So the way to meditate is simply to talk to God. Simply to talk to God, and when you're talking to God, so then you're aware of the fact that I have a neshama. You're aware of the fact that a neshama is communicating with God, and that's real. That's real. When you're saying, God, I love you. When you're saying, God, thank you so much for rescuing the hostages. That's real. When you're thinking, Yud, comments, hey, comments, like that's what in the world is that? That's nothing. That's called tripping. Okay, that's called thinking. Like that's not what real Kabbalists are talking about. You know, like once I'm on this rant about. So I'll tell you a teaching from Rabbi Nachman. Rabbi Nachman at the very end of the Sefer L'Kut. So he noticed that a student of his started doing Kabbalistic intentions. He started using it like some Kabbalistic Sefer, and when he was davening, and it irked him. So he told him, I want to tell you something. The kavana of tefillah, when you're davening, the intention of tefillah, the only intention is to think about what the words mean. The kavana that you should be having is to feel the words, to feel what you're saying, to really feel what you're saying. So if you're on a spiritual level that the kavanot, it says in these Kabbalistic books, that is what the words are saying, so then it means something. But if for you these kavanot, these like Kabbalistic meditations, are not getting into the words, so then you're just fooling yourself, right? So that's that. I think it's probably much more than 99.9 of the people who are doing these kavanot. So then they don't follow. They don't follow in under these what Rabbi Nachman was instructing of the people who are worthy of doing this kavanot. So anyway, so when a person is So meditation is a very basic thing in Judaism. It's a very basic way of connecting with God, very basic way of connecting with my soul, and so it's a normal thing. It's a normal thing when we're trying to meditate to deal with distractions. And these distractions, these are called the machshavot zarot. Okay, so there's two ways to deal with these machshavot zarot. And that is the teaching of Reb Nachman Shnober for this week's parsha. Okay, and this is that how to deal. And this is something that we're going to experience this when we're learning on Shavuos night. We're going to experience this when we're hearing the 10 Commandments on Wednesday morning. Then we're going to think like, how could it be that I'm in the holiest time of the year and like my mind is drifting. So how do we deal with this? So there's two ways to deal with our drifting mind. There's two ways to deal with these machshavot zarot, and that is the message for this week's parsha. That's number one. Number one is that the first way is very simply to just return back. Okay, to return back. Now Rabbi Nachman writes that when a person has machshavot zarot, so that's an opportunity. Okay, it's an opportunity to return, and the way to return is by imagining himself just being batel to Hashem, by negating to Hashem. A person suddenly feels himself that I was like, oh my gosh, I was just on autopilot. I wasn't even aware of the fact that I was talking to God. So at that moment, thrust yourself back to Hashem. How do you thrust yourself back to Hashem? He says, with the intention of Mesiras Nefesh. Okay? With the intention of Mesiras Nefesh. If you imagine yourself being killed on Kadosh Hashem, okay, which is circling back to the Ger Tzedek Nirvana, that was killed on Shavuos. Did I tell you the end of the story? That he was burned at the stake? He was burned at the stake, and his ashes are buried next to the Vilna Gaon in the cemetery in Vilna. So, Avram ben Avram. The Ger Tzedek Nirvana. Yeah. So the kavana to bring yourself back, says Rabbi Nachman, is the kavana of Mesiras Nefesh. Okay. So if you find yourself that, oh my gosh, like I was totally not there. So at that moment, just imagine yourself thrusting yourself, burning on a stake in Hashem's for Hashem's glory, and then at that moment you're back. You're back. Your presence is that's the way to overcome this distance. That's number one. Okay, that's the way. That's the first way. We can call this perhaps the Litvish way. Okay? That this is the aggressive way. Okay?
The Baruch way.
What? So this is the aggressive way to deal with the machshavot zarot, and that is to burn them, like to really attack them full on, and just like with aggression. Now, Nachman Shnober says that there's another thing that we need to know, and the truth is that both of these methods, they both appear in the teaching of the Baal Shem Tov. Okay, the Baal Shem Tov will speak a lot about the machshavot zarot, and both of these approaches, they both appear in the teaching of the Baal Shem Tov. And but for today, so what the Baal Shem Tov, what the Einayim says is that the other way, instead of just negating them, instead of just repressing these machshavot zarot, so he says as follows: that to understand where these machshavot zarot come from, and to understand that really every foreign thought that comes to me, so it actually is coming from a holy place. It's just that these holy ideas, that they fell. There's a certain nefila. They all come from otiyot. They all come from the holy letters of the Aleph Beis. It's just that for whatever reason that weren't able to be at the highest level. They were at a lower level, but their desire is to be elevated. Okay, so when I'm getting these machshavot zerot in the middle of my davening, so you know what's really happening? That these thoughts, the thought themselves, the topic themselves, is yearning to be elevated. It's yearning to return to its source, to return to the top tier of reality, which is the reality of holiness. And the reason why this thought came to me is because the thought has a desire. The thought wants to be elevated. Okay, so this is the reason why I'm coming to this thought, is because it wants to be fixed. It wants to get its fix. How does it get its fix? By coming to me when I'm speaking to God. So that's its way to make it to the highest place. Okay, so how do you do that? So instead of just telling it go to hell, so Reb Nachum Shnabel says you need to elevate it. Okay, what does it mean to elevate it? It means that instead of, and this is when you talk about meditation, this is also a technique in meditation. That instead of just refocusing, so to allow this thought to be, okay, because like if we take a moment to digress back to regular meditation. So if you're meditating on something, if you're trying to focus on something, if you're trying to focus on your connection with God, if you're trying to focus on how much you love Hashem, if you're trying to focus on gratitude, if you're trying to focus on whatever you're trying to focus on, so and you keep on getting these distractions, so you tell yourself, stop being distracted, stop thinking about that, and so sometimes the energy that you spend on trying to get rid of these distractions is itself a distraction. Okay, and in fact, it says that it actually makes the distraction even stronger, because I'm fighting against it so much. It's like it's what I thought you were talking about before. That you're talking about the pink elephant. There's thing about the elephant, and talk about there's some expression about don't think about a. Yeah, it's also a pink elephant.
Elephant in the room?
No, that's something else. That's something else. But there's some expression that, like, if I tell you, don't think about a pink elephant. So then it's impossible for you not to think about that, because the more that you think, don't think about pink elephants, so then that's the pink elephant is just in your brain. So, and you're going to just get frustrated because, like, I'm just trying not to think about the pink elephant, and it's like, because I'm thinking about it so much, not thinking about it, it's like stop, and so it doesn't work. So sometimes that the energy of trying to dispel our distractions is actually itself a distraction. So it's itself a distraction, and also it gives power to the distraction itself. So what do you do? So that's what Reb Nachum Shnabel says, that there's a second technique, and that is laha'alot at hamachshavot zerot, to help them ascend, to help them come to their tikkun, and that is when a person understands that this thought, it actually wants to come close to Hashem. A person is thinking, so why am I actually thinking about this? That where does this come from? Why do I think about these stupid things? Why am I so anxious? Why am I thinking about this ball game? What is it? Why am I thinking about this TV show? What am I thinking about this relationship? Why am I thinking about this person? What the person said to me? What am I thinking about this interview? Whatever it is, there's these things in my life, these parts of my life that they're attacking me and they're trying to control me, and my tikkun for them, the way to be mitaken, these thoughts, is that they want to be part of my connection with God. Okay, so instead of just driving them away, so to just let them be and refocus them. Okay, and refocus them instead of letting my mind just think about stressing about these things, or just drifting about these things, depending on what the kind of thought is. But whatever it is, there's a shorish, there's a root cause of this thought that actually wants to get to Hashem. So now sometimes it's like, it depends on there's different examples. When it comes to something stressful, so that this stress, it wants me to bring Hashem into the stress. And by bringing Hashem into the stress, so the stress dissipates, right? It stops existing. Now what about things which are just dumb? Sometimes, like, not you, but your friends probably, sometimes when they daven, sometimes they just think about something that, like, what in the world was I doing? Like, and so I'm thinking, like, why is my mind on baseball? And so then what do you do with that? So then you ask yourself that, well, what do I get from baseball? Why is it what is it that my mind is excited from the baseball? That's actually coming from a holy place. The reason why I love baseball so much is because there's something exciting about the baseball game that my soul is yearning for, and that place in my soul that it's yearning for is actually yearning for a greater excitement than baseball. Right? I've told you many times the Torah of Dr. Bab that in the 12 steps. So the third step is to recognize that there's a higher power. So when Dr. Bab was creating the 12 steps, so he was in touch with Carl Jung, who was a famous psychoanalyst, and so this idea came from Carl Jung. So he asked him why you're making recovery exclusive. Like what do I do if I have people I want to help them that they don't believe in a higher power? So Carl Jung told him that you don't understand the first thing about addictions, that these kids or adults that are into alcohol and substances, like you don't understand why they're into alcohol and substances. You think that the reason why they're into it is because they enjoy alcohol and substances. That's not why. It's not that they like the taste, they like the feeling. It's what really is that there's a dissatisfaction that they know that life has to be more than this dull 9-to-5 rat race. They look at the real world, they look at the conventional world, and they say this is sick. This is boring. This is so pointless. There needs to be more to our existence than that. So they're looking for something more. So they find more in this altered states of consciousness that they get in alcohol substances. But it's really, that's not what they're looking for. They're looking for some excuse that justifies our existence. That's something that explains what in the world we're doing here. Because it can't just be for just to have jobs, just for money, just for family. There needs to be something higher. And so really what their soul is yearning for is the yearning for God. So it's impossible. They've already beat the matrix. These people, like the rest of the world, so they're the losers nebuch, that they aren't aware of the fact that life is actually mean something. But these guys, they've already cracked the code. They already know that life is not just mundane. So the only option, the only way that they can ever recover is by finding God. So this is when I'm anything that excites me, anything that takes up my mind, to understand that really deep down, my excitement about baseball is, or it's about some stupid sitcom that I was watching, or some stupid movie, or some stupid song that I was listening to. So it's all an excitement about life being big, okay? And to understand that place in my soul is actually yearning for God. And so it's so beautiful that my desire for baseball is really a desire for God. And that is the tikkun. And now the Naso says that is what the pasuk says in this expression. That's what it says. That Naso et Rosh b'nei Gershon. That Gershon is, he says as a hint to the word legarish, something that was banished, something that was chased away. That these are these holy letters, these holy sparks that were banished from the kedusha, and it's our mission, Naso, to elevate them. That's what the et means. Et means aleph to taf. Naso et rosh. Naso et, take all of these aleph to taf, take all of these letters that were b'nei Gershon, that they were the children of the spelling, that they were the children of banishment, and levet avatam, and bring them back to their forefathers, bring them back to their soul, to their source, bring them back to where they came from. And this is how we overcome machshavat zarat. So this is really, so circle back. So this is really the secret of Kabbalah Torah. This is really the secret of learning Torah. This is the secret of davening. This is the point of life, the point of the epitome of life, that the thing that we're yearning for, the thing that we're trying to aspire to is dvekut, is clinging with God. And the number one enemy is distractions. The number one enemy is these machshavot zarat. So to understand that I want to live a high conscious life. That number one, that I want to be really, really living life to the fullest. V'heyesham. I don't want to just be surviving. I want to really be living. I want to be very, very aware of every sour stick. I want to be aware of every piece of popcorn that I'm eating, every interaction. I want to be doing it to the fullest. Everything in life I want to be doing it to the fullest. And then once I already have that awareness, I already have this consciousness of doing things to the fullest. When things still come to me, to understand that these thoughts are actually want to be elevated. Okay, that's where the tikkun comes in, and that's why you'll notice that the more you do it, the more you do these tikkunim, the less they come. Okay, because they got their tikkun. Okay, they got their tikkun, so they no longer bother you, and that's why that the more that you get used to this routine of that, when these thoughts come to me, when I'm trying to learn, when I'm trying to daven, instead of just fighting this, no, go away. Like if I instead of stop fighting against them in this like head-to-head butt, so if I stop to think, I'll just let you be and say, okay, would you like to come enter my prayers? Would you like to enter my davening? That why are you bothering me in the middle of my davening? It must be that we have some unsettled business, and I'll help you bring you into the kedusha. So that is how we fix them, and then once we fix them, then they will actually stop bothering us. So this is the tachlis. This is the point. So I bless us all that we should really be able to learn to be very present, to learn to be very mindful, to learn to live a high conscious life, and to understand that the things that are bothering us, it's all part of the big picture of how to really live life to the fullest. B'ezrat Hashem. L'chaim, and have a wonderful Yom Tov.